Hi, I'm Tim the Tool Man, and I want to welcome you to tonight's show of All About Tools Live here on Halloween night. And tonight I want to also introduce my helper, Al.
How you doing, Tim?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Al? Good to see you tonight.
We need to tell everybody it's Heroes Night tonight for Halloween, and we're dressed as our heroes. So if you're watching Tim and Al, hello to you.
Oh, well, well, and I guess, is that the end of that fun? Can we
I
take
guess
our masks
that's
off?
it. That's it. Masks up.
Well, unfortunately, Tim and Al aren't here tonight, and you're stuck with us, but we're still going to have a great time. This is our third show, and every time the show has just grown an incredible amount. Our viewership was
Every
up.
time it's been on 20.
Well, but we were up 30% last week.
30%. Thanks, all of you.
And so we hope to have a great time again tonight. The first thing, would you put my mask up there, please?
Sure.
The first thing we're going to talk about tonight is a tool that we always get asked constantly about, and that's actually the Festool plunge saw. It's different than really any other saw that's out there on the market in that it doesn't have a fixed blade, but actually the blade drops down when you initiate your cut. Some of the features about this saw that really make it quite different are, one, it travels on a rail system, so you're always assured a straight cut. It also won't start or advance without first raising the safety button and then depressing the trigger and then plunging the blade. I don't have a safety problem showing you this right now because it has a quick disconnect plug, which I don't even have hooked up, so there's no way I can injure myself. This has variable speed motor. For changing the blade, an ingenious system. You drop this down, raise this, and it locks the blade in place, exposing the change hex nut, which you would just use the Allen wrench, which on this tool is built right into the handle. Put it right in, and you can change your tool. Also, another really fantastic thing about this tool, compared to a lot of others, is that it has positive stops in centimeters from 0 to 55. So you can actually take, by raising this to whatever point, set the depth of your plunge automatically so you don't cut any deeper than what is necessary to go through your work. Thus you save the working table below it and you reduce the amount of pressure on the motor and the blade, which causes it to last longer. Another really great thing about these saws is, and John's going to show you in just a moment, the guide rail gives you...
It's Al, Ken.
I'm sorry, Al. He's got a real identity crisis thing going, so work with him.
It's Al, Ken.
Okay. I got my apron on. And it's not like that apron you wear sometimes. But anyway, the adjustment for angle is simple. It's right up front. But the thing that really makes this exceptional is most saws, when you adjust the angle, you have to refigure your cut position. With this saw, you don't.
I was going to tell him that.
Oh, okay, then I won't say anything more on that.
I was going to tell him that over there when we're on the multifunction table.
Well, you still get your chance.
Okay.
Festool makes two sizes of saws. The TS55, which will give you a clean cut of 1 7/8. This saw here will deliver a cut of almost 3 inches, I believe, just a little under 3 inches.
I think so, yes, on the rail.
And fantastic tools. Right. As far as how they cut, we'll let Al show you how to do that. Come on, Al. Come around over here.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
That's Tim.
Tim. I'm sorry, Tim. We'll get these out of the way here real quick. All right. Now, the Festool system, and I say system because it is an entire system, the Festool plunge saws are designed to be used on these metal rails. And I don't really recommend them to be used without the aluminum rails. The bottom of the rail has a non-slip surface on the bottom so that when you set them down in place, they don't slide at all. It also has a removable and replaceable splinter guard that's made out of a rubber substance that self-stick on the back. When you get the rails new, the splinter guard is wide, so when you make a cut through this, what are you doing?
Just trying to see how this works.
It actually becomes both your cut line and a splinter guard, so you can cut cross-cut wood veneers, oak veneers, melamines, plywoods, anything like that without any splintering, because the blade is coming up into the rubber splinter guard. Now, if the edge you're using is too short, you can easily lengthen it by using these connectors. And the connector slides, as you can see, into the next rail, and you lock it down, except I got to get my glasses on here so I can see the screws much better. You lock the rail down with 4 screws. The old style had one set of connectors, and this rail is a little bit wider. Some of you that are watching the show might recognize that these have green Teflon runners on them. This is new, and they're a wider stance as well. You flip the rail over. There's another connector in the bottom. Now, I just happen to keep my connectors in the bottom like this. They don't come like that. But it's a good way to keep them. You can keep them stored. All right, so we're going to lock these down. All right, now we're ready to flip it over and set it on our piece of wood. Now, one of the big advantages that I've found to this, for woodworkers especially, is you can take a piece of rough sawn lumber, and rather than having to run it through the joiner or any type of a fixture on the table saw, all you have to do is lay your rail down, and you'll get a precise straight cut that you can now size it on the table saw with. Now, I mentioned that in most instances you don't need to clamp the rail in place. We will, and if you choose to do so, you can do so by using a clamp like this that slips up underneath, comes up and locks in, or Ken's going to show you on the other end the ratchet clamp, which will slide in there, and you can just squeeze the trigger. All right, we're a little bit snug in here. Just going to move this out of the way. There's an adjuster on the back side of this saw that I think Ken adjusted. There we go.
So it means it won't work.
Well, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, the saw slides on the rail very simply. So to make a cut, we're going to first adjust our depth of cut. Down to about there is fine. We're hooked up to the vac, and we're not plugged in. It's because Ken is so safety conscious. And this is the larger of the two saws I'm using. My personal preference is this is a smaller saw, but this one I'm using because I'm cutting lumber that's so thick. Live show again. We're still locked here a little bit. My apologies.
What's wrong?
Oh, this.
Oh, it's too tight.
There we go. Okay, here we go. What happened?
Did we blow the fuse?
I don't know. We might have. We need to check our breaker, guys. I'm using a combination blade on here, which is a little bit, it's really not a rip blade, which I should be using. But let's see what Ken found out there. There we go. Now I can plunge back into the work. All right, so as you can see, had a little bit of problem going through that, but again, I think that's because of the blade that we were using here. I'll just unplug it and just show you here what we had. We have a combination blade on here, and we probably should have been using a coarse rip blade. But as you can see, we made it through the cut just fine. Unlock these, the clamps. And you can see we got a perfectly straight cut. Now this piece of timber is ready to go back into the table saw and rip it down. Let's see, that's about it for this particular segment. Now I'm going to switch saws over here and show you the multifunction table. We're just going to slide this back here out of the way. This is the smaller saw. This is the TS-75. I'm sorry, TS-55. We're using the same cord that we used on the TS-75. We're going to plug in and just set the saw aside for a minute. This is a multifunction table, and it's great for the job site. It folds up into a flat pack, and it basically turns your circular saw into a portable table saw for the job site. Your fence is adjusted up and down for depth of cut on the wood. Depth of cut. Thickness of the wood fits under here. It's got a rail on the back side that can be adjusted to any angle. So if you want to do simple cuts in the field, go ahead and set this up. Check our depth of cut here. Now this rail here, maybe, I don't know if you can get this with the camera, but this is a brand new rail. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting through the rubber, and you'll see some black fly off of here, but that's actually sizing this to the blade. Do we blow a breaker again, Ken? Ken?
I can go
Quit
check.
playing with the ghost.
It was more fun than doing anything else.
I don't know why we're blowing breakers. We got a problem with the power tonight.
There you go.
There we go. All right, I'm going to make my cut a little bit deeper. Okay, now as you can see, we've got a perfect splinter-free cut. If you can see this, I'm not quite sure. But one thing that's unique about this that Ken started to tell you about is if you wanted to change this to an angle, with most circular saws, as you adjust the angle, it moves away from the cut line, where the Festool does not. So if I want to change an angle here, now I only went part way through that because what I'd like to show you is that there's an angle from here to here, and it's a 90 right here, but on the face of that board you can't even tell the difference. That's how accurate it is. So this is a great little setup. There's an extension table available if you're doing longer work. There's a flip stop on it, so if you're doing repetitious cuts, you can do those over and over again. Another nice feature is if you wanted to or found a need, you could do a compound angle. You can go ahead and cut the work this way and angle your saw and cut it the other way. And I think that's about it for this one. And I think we're going to commercial next, are we, guys? We have a commercial segment? Chris, are we going to commercial?
We actually have a couple of questions. Would you use the
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Would you use the Festool plunge saw for framing?
I don't know what Festool would say, but my gut feeling is no, because it's got a retractable blade. I suppose you could set it down and make a plunge cut into the work, but I would say no.
What kind of blades do the saws take?
All the kind of blades a normal circular saw does. The only difference is it's a 20 millimeter arbor.
So it's
a Festool, not Festool proprietary, because you can buy them if your blade sources have a 20 millimeter arbor, but it's a metric arbor, definitely.
Okay.
Need some help there, Ken?
I think there's one more question.
Okay. We have another question there? I thought there were 3.
It's coming up. It's like a lot of things. It's just
Nope.
slow around here. Is there a depth lock on the plunge saw?
A depth lock. Oh, so you can
If you
keep
drop
the
the
blade.
blade,
No,
can you
there's
lock it in
not.
place?
No, that would make it totally unsafe. If there were a way to lock this blade in the down position when it were plugged in, if you set the saw down, there's no telling where it's going to take off to. So no.
Okay, well then I guess that's pretty much it. I guess we're ready to go to our first commercial break.